Welcome to Late to the Game. I'm Uplift Baton 6, and today we're going back to 2016. We're going to take a look at Stellaris. And now, I first played this game several years ago, and I really wanted to like it, but it was so hard that I kind of gave up on it for a bit. And then, about a year ago, I bought a bunch of DLC from Humble Bundle, tried it again. Still really hard. But recently, the Machine Age came out. And so I thought I would sit down, give it another good effort, and man, I'm glad I did. It's fantastic. Let's get into things. So Stellaris is a sci-fi 4X game. It's more sandbox than 4X. I say it's sandbox because although there's an end game and all the X's in the genre are there, it's wide open. There's so much to do and different ways to play that you could play through it dozens of times and have a very different experience each time. So in the end, if you treat it like a galactic simulator, I think you'll have a better time with the game. If you want to create a society of xenophobic communist machines bent on universal dominion,
We are the Borg. Resistance is futile.
you can do that. Or you can play through as a utopian, technologically superior group of humans dedicated to galactic coexistence. I would plan, if I were you, on committing a solid 40 hours on your first playthrough, maybe even more, and you will spend a spectacular amount of time on the wiki, maybe on your favorite, chatbot, Copilot or whatever, and a ton of YouTube videos to figure it all out. Like most 4X games, there's several victory paths. In Stellaris, there's at least 5 of them. There's Dominion, Federation, Conquest. What else is there? Crisis Victory. You can just score. Do you have enough points at the end of the game? But simply making it to the end of the game, quote unquote, which is the year 2500, that's a pretty big achievement. It starts out like your typical 4X game. If you've played Master of Orion, Galactic Civilizations, things like that, you have a pretty good idea of how the game works. Choose a race or customize your own. You start with one planet in one solar system. You explore other systems, planets, build colonies, design fleets of ships, form alliances, all of that pretty typical 4X stuff. But like all Paradox games, it is immense. It's dense, it's nuanced, it's rich, it's really, really hard. I mean, really hard. It's procedurally generated, and although this makes each playthrough different, even with the same standard races, you can also end up in a bind really early on. So don't be afraid to quit early, try again. I've had to restart really early, 3 or 4 times simply because of where I was situated within the universe. You'll manage a single system, which means developing the planet, harvesting resources, but the detail goes all the way down to individual pop jobs. A pop is population, and as far as I can tell, there's at least 15 different jobs for your pops. If there's enough work for them, they'll get unemployed, crime starts to rise, stability gets out of whack, and then you have revolts on your hands, different factions form, different political bodies can come out of these things. You can set policies. The long and the short of it is managing one little system is a lot of clicks. It's a lot of buttons, and it's a lot of trying to figure out exactly which things you should be doing when, which kind of breaks down the simulation a little bit because you do have to specialize planets or you won't make a lot of progress. And I don't know about you, but I can't imagine living on a planet that is 100% forging all the time. Not my idea of fun. But that's what you have to do in this game. Which leads us to government. At least 7 different governments are here, and it would obviously depend on how much DLC or extra stuff you buy. So these range anywhere from democracy to oligarchy to dictatorship, hivemind, things of that nature. There's also different flavors of each of these as well. So you have to prepare mandates and all that sort of jazz as well. You can appoint advisors in different offices. And eventually those guys will die, and then you'll have to replace them. And all of this is going on while you're managing fleets of literally dozens of ships. I discovered that maybe I'm not doing it right. I don't have a ton of time on this, but it seems like you're going to be managing fewer fleets, but each of those fleets are going to have dozens and dozens of ships. I mean, I have one fleet that has somewhere in the neighborhood of 30 ships in it or something like that. I don't remember. But anyway, you're going to have to manage a lot of ships within those fleets. Like all 4X games, resources are important, but resources here are more than food, metal, research, money, things of that nature. You also get consumer goods, influence, unity, crystals, gases. See, what else have you got? Psionic resources. You've got like nanites and stability, which isn't really it's not really a resource, something you have to manage though. So I guess in that sense, it's a resource. So the list goes on and on. I'm actually not even sure how many there actually are. I think there's well over a dozen different resources that you might have to manage. Some races need more resources than others, or different resources than others. But depending on how you build your empire, I think you probably would at one point need to use them all throughout the game. And then you also have to deal with things like first contact, building federations, managing alliances, and you can even have other empires that become subservient to you. And this game, in the mid and near the end, there's like, I don't know, a dozen or so. You could set it however you want, but there's several different races that are active all at the same time, and sometimes you won't even be close to them, but you'll still have to manage relations with them. And then they have their own relations with other factions, and then before you know it, you're at war with somebody that you can't even get to. But you have to understand all of that. Big mistake that I made the first few times was that I got kind of bored of reading all the text, and so I just kind of blindly clicked, okay, do the thing, do the thing, do the thing. Big mistake. Read the stuff. It actually will improve your experience. It also is going to add time, so there's that 40 hours. This game took a long time to grow on me. It really is not a simple 4X game. It's really dense. It's very immersive. I am constantly hopping back and forth to the wiki and Copilot, various YouTubers, and trying to figure out what buttons do. Literally, what does this do if I do this thing? And if I do this thing, what does that mean for this potential reaction? You really have to get in there and dig into the nitty-gritty. So it's not an easy game to learn. The assistant is virtually useless. There's no real tutorial, for lack of a better word. So don't be afraid to just dig into other people's, tips and tricks. I thought about putting some videos out about it. I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to link to a couple of great videos that will show you literally every button, every menu. They walk through it all top to bottom. Very helpful resource. I'll link that below. So I'm not going to do it. Why redo work that's already out there and does it really well? But what I will do is do another playthrough, or try and do a playthrough, and I'll record that and I'll post it here. You can take a look at how it works. You can see how I tackle the game. You can point out all my foibles and all the things I'm doing wrong, as if it won't become flagrantly obvious as I play through and get totally destroyed. But regardless, what I do wish is that there were more, if you will, typical species. Like there's fungi species, they look like giant mushrooms. You have your typical bug-like species. You have Hydra. There's like hydras as a race in this. And I think that's something that's missing. It feels a little bit disconnected. Like you can't quite relate to it. I kind of wanted to sit down and build, the United Federation of Planets and try and find, other humanoid type species. And you just can't really find them. It kind of makes things weird. But that's just me personally. Other people might really like that there aren't a lot of, humanoid-like species that are out there. Really, all told, if you like to sit down to a game and then realize that 5 hours has passed, this is a game for you. That literally happened to me when I decided to give this thing a full-on crack and read everything. And learn all the buttons and everything. Before I knew it, 5 hours had passed and I had no idea. I was sitting here at my computer one morning and my kids were like, let's go do something. And I said, I am doing something. And then I realized, oh my word, it's in the afternoon already. So that will happen in this game. And it was so much fun. I think it's worth playing. Spend hours on it. Enjoy it. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and keep on watching. Thanks a lot, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.